Alright, today we're going to be going over striker tips and how to become a more effective striker. One of the most important things that people should start implementing in their gameplay is following a set geo path. They're currently, think of the arena as multiple lanes, alright? There's the extreme lanes, which are left and right, and then there are the more middle lanes, right? The middle lanes, you can only go in a straight line. You don't really have a lot of bailout options. The only thing you can do is duck or jump or pass. You don't really have anything to stop yourself on except for mini block. You're kind of just in open space, right? As a striker, you want to be next to Geo as much as possible so that way you can dictate the pace of the game. If I want to slow the game down, I can very easily by just grabbing Geo. I can also back up. I just have a lot more maneuverability around Geo as well. It's also a lot easier to get my passes around my opponents. I can do an anchor pass. I can push off and then pass. It's just overall a lot easier when you have something to grab onto. If I'm pushing the bubble from just mid, the goalie knows I can only either pass or duck or jump and then shoot. I don't really have anything to stop myself on as I'm just moving in through open space. It's a lot more effective if you take a geo path, as in moving across the wall and utilizing shoulder and pillar. As you can dictate the pace of the game, you can stop, you can push back if the bubble's bad, or you could push the advantage if you need to, right? You can also fake shots, go for passes. It's just a lot more dynamic of a play style using Geo. So the next tip I'd have for up-and-coming strikers is making sure that you're always making the most out of the play whenever you touch the disc. As the striker, your team, they want the disc to be in your hands, as you're the one that should be the most skilled in making a play happen with it, right? That's why you're the striker on the team. So really playing to that advantage and playing into that role and fitting into that mindset is super important. Playing more confidently with the disc is a thing a lot of people could implement in their gameplay. A lot of strikers play kind of scared, I guess, with the disc, as in if they're pushed by a chain, they throw it before that chain is actually in position to stun them, right? And if the chain's not in position to stun them, then that means they can't stun the chain either, right? And they're throwing the disc and then that chain is still out moving around, right? It'd be a lot better if you waited with the disc and then threw it right at the last second, so that way you could also stun the chain. So that plays into the idea of always trying to get multiple things done with the disc at once. If you throw the disc, you also want to try to stop a chain. You also want to try to beat your man, so that way you can cut. You always want to get more than one thing done with the disc. Another key point playing into disc possession as a striker is making sure that when you have the disc, you're the one that's doing the shot calling. You're the commander on the field. If you need someone to cut, you're the one that tells them when to cut and where to cut from, right? Going back to that Geo Line tip I first had, you can stop on Geo and command your team where to go, right? Get them into favorable positions that you think are easy for you to hit. It's a lot easier for you as the disc holder to know what your abilities are and which passes are easier to hit than it is for your teammate, right? Your teammate doesn't really know the exact vision you have on the field, right? So you being the commander in the field makes it a lot easier for yourself to make good plays happen, as you put your teammates in favorable positions to complement your positioning, right? So if I'm on Ghost, I can tell my teammate Jay to cut from the opposite side Ghost if I'd like him to, when I'd like him to. If I think this game should be slowed down, I don't tell him to cut, I tell him to back up, right? And I get him and on him back. But if I think this game should be sped up, I can tell him to cut forward, right? Me being the commander single-handedly increases the pace of the game or slows it down, depending on what I think is fit at the moment. The next tip I'd have is, as a striker, you obviously want the disc to be in your hands as much as possible, as you're the one that's supposed to have the most skill in terms of making the play happen and putting the disc in the goal, correct? So a good way to do this would be, you got to know methods to get yourself the most open, so that way your teammates can find you with the disc, right? Because you're the preferred hand that the disc should be in, right? A good way to do this is, as soon as your teammates get any sort of turnover, right? So your team gains possession of the disc, right? You instantly want to move yourself to the extremes of the arena, whether that be all the way up on ceiling or all the way up on floor, right? that makes it a lot easier for you to get out of the range of everyone else, right? If your teammate gets a pick at mid, right, and they're in the middle of the field, the whole entire defense, they're only looking at the middle of the field, right? The moment you go high or low, your teammate can now put it either over the heads of your opponents or below their feet, right? It's a lot easier of a pass to make, and you're a lot more out of plain sight. You're playing off angles, right? That's what doing the extremes of the map helps with. You want to play off angles as striker, right? That's also where playing upside down comes into play. Playing upside down gives you a keen advantage over playing on ceiling, right? It's a lot easier for someone upside down to move around on ceiling than it is for someone right side up, right? So playing the extremes of the map as an upside down player is way easier, as you can go up to ceiling and a lot less people expect you up here. A lot less people who play right side up look at ceiling than they do at floor, right? So you're going to be a lot more open if you're upside down on ceiling, right? The next thing that would play into this would be making sure that your call out is loud and clear when you're the best option on the field. If you're the best man to have the disc at this point in time, you need to make that clear to your team. If I'm going to the extremes of the map, say my teammate Jay just got a pick and tube, right? I instantly choose to go to the high extreme of the map across from him, right? I'm by far the best pass on the field. I have to make this call out the loudest thing that Jay can hear, so that way he knows that this is the best pass that needs to happen. This pass needs to happen right now, or else that's a wasted opportunity, right? And if this pass doesn't happen, it's just as much your fault as it is his, as you're the one that should be letting him know that you're the best option. As a striker on defense, you still want to play with offense in mind. You want to play with the mentality of your team's going to get an interception and I need to put myself in a position to score as fast as possible. The easiest way to do this is if you're the main striker on your team, you want to be the one to always pressure the reset, right? So say the enemy team sets up a slow offense, right? They reset it back to double diamonds to their backliner. You're the one that wants to pressure that backliner, right? To force him into a pass, right? If he passes it and it's an interception, because you were the one that pressured this man, you're now the furthest up the field on your team, right? Going back to the pushing off to extremes, if I pressured double diamonds and say Cruisin, for example, he threw a pick to Jay, right? I now instantly push to the extremes of the map and I'm now open for a long shot. Jay can now hit me here. I use that previous tip saying that I call out because I'm the best option on the field. I truly believe this. I have to let Jay know that I'm the best option on the field. That way I get the disc here, and now I have a wide open long shot opportunity at a mail slot, right? That also serves as a clear. It's a double whammy. It's a clear and a shot. It's a clear with an opportunity to go in. You want to take as many of those as possible as a striker. You always want to be the transition into a long shot. If your team's getting a stop on defense and they're only clearing it, that's a lot worse than getting a shot up while you're clearing it at the same time, right? A clear with the intention of just being a clear will never be as effective as a clear with the intention of it also going in. The last tip I'd have for strikers would be going back to the offensive side of the field. If you have the disc, say, going back to the one tip where going to the extremes of the map as soon as your team gets a turnover, right? So say my teammate Jaywalker just got a turnover in tube, right? I push off to the extremes of the map, just like I previously mentioned in the previous tips. You push up to the extremes of the map, you get yourself open, you use those loud, assertive comms to let Jay know that you are the best option, right? You now have the disc on ceiling, right? A lot of strikers think that this is a very time-sensitive case, and you now have to push this, no matter the way the bubble looks, right? A lot of strikers think that no matter how many people are in the bubble, because I have this pass and I'm near the bubble, I now have to push this. That's not the case at all. You have no shot clock on the amount of time you can have with the disc. If it's a bad bubble, there's nothing forcing me to pressure this in or make a cut pass that's too hard. I can wait here and stalemate this out until I have an opportunity and a look that I like and want to take. There's nothing rushing me, right? So playing relaxed and calm and collected while on offense as a striker and the furthest player up is something that takes a lot of practice, as being the furthest player up definitely feels stressful and you feel as if you have a big role to fill and you feel like you have to make a play happen as soon as you touch the disc, but that's not the case at all. You could take your time, take a couple breaths in, realize what's the best option, and then go from there.